Hello, we are the AI Wonder Girls, and we are happy to present to you our pitch today. We're an international all-female team from India, Spain, Indonesia, and the USA. This is Fatma. She's 41 years old and a busy mum of three living and working in Ghent. She struggles to make ends meet sometimes, and she's been shocked at how high her energy bills can be. She's sure there must be a better way, but she doesn't have the time to look into it, and she wouldn't know where to start. Like 1 in 3 of Ghent's residents, she's also from abroad. She's Turkish, and she's not sure her Dutch is good enough to deal with technical matters like this. Then one day, someone sends her a QR code. It links to a web app called Zonnevisie, or Solar Vision, on the Ghent City website, explaining that she could save on her energy bills and reduce her carbon footprint by joining an energy community. What's more, the explanation is in Turkish as well as some other languages. She puts in her address, and the app shows her an energy community she can start up with some of her neighbours, tailored to her household energy consumption and showing how much she could save. Sustainability is a big priority for Ghent, so much so that it won Europe's 2018 Transformative Action Award for Sustainability. Energy communities are one of the most important means of reaching its goals, and in the current economic climate, they can also play an important part in reducing energy poverty. Although 20% of Ghent residents have solar panels on their homes already, research in other parts of Europe shows that these people tend to be older, wealthier, and more educated. How can we help people like Fatma not get left behind? Our custom-made optimization algorithm groups residents in Ghent into clusters that we propose can form an energy community together. And we recommend locations where they can install solar panels too. Our recommendation tells them why they should join and points to resources to show them how to join, breaking down the barriers to get started. For Fatma, this means she knows who to contact and how to talk to her neighbours about setting up an energy community, and she can receive all the help that Ghent offers. What makes a good energy community then? Based on academic research about what makes energy communities successful and fair, we identified 4 key performance indicators on which to optimize them. Our machine learning optimization algorithm finds the best way to group households and solar panel locations to maximize profitability, to keep startup costs low to allow low-income households to take part, and to keep energy communities local. Our background reading shows that small local communities increase social cohesion, a secondary benefit in addition to alleviating energy poverty and reducing carbon footprints. Why these KPIs? Well, they can be modified. If Ghent decides they want bigger energy communities, or they want to include the socio-economic diversity of members, these can be added or reprioritised as needed. It's not just Ghent, but any city that has data on solar irradiation and energy consumption can run our model too and get recommendations. And then there's the business model. We assume that our energy communities are cooperatives, but this is something that can be reconsidered as well. In cooperatives, everyone invests an equal share and everyone sees the benefits. This reduces economic inequalities, but it requires everyone to have access to startup capital. In fact, our modelling revealed some important insights about startup capital for the City of Ghent to consider. We already knew this, but energy communities are not always profitable. Optimising the size, composition, and location of energy communities is really important. The biggest determinant of how profitable it is how much capital is put into installing solar panels. This can be a problem for those in energy poverty because they usually have the least capital to begin with. In order to make energy communities work in a fair and financially sustainable way, Ghent will need to think hard about how to ensure everyone has access to startup capital. In the Flemish city of Eeklo, for example, shares in the EcoPower energy community are pre-financed for people in energy poverty. So what's next for Fatma? Armed with the information from our app, she starts talking to her neighbours. With cold hard numbers, it's easier to convince them to give it a try. Together they contact the City of Ghent, which supports them in installing their solar panels. Not long afterwards, Fatma is a happy member of a local energy community. Electricity bills down, carbon footprint down, social cohesion up. Seamlessly integrated into Ghent's initiatives on climate action, our web app can encourage any resident to become a member of an energy community. When the self-sufficiency rate increases, Belgium will meet its goal for affordable, reliable, and sustainable energy. Expanding to the world will beat climate change. And Fatma will see her household bills that much easier to manage. Thank you for listening.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your presentation. And now we can start with the question from the jury member. Maybe Lambert, have you gone first before? I don't think so.
Sure, happy to start off. Thanks, Emma, and all the rest of the team. It's really well presented, and I love that you took a concrete persona that makes the story very, very concrete and imaginable. I like a lot that it is a web app that everybody can use. Could you tell us a little bit more about how it works behind the screen? You said you have a machine learning algorithm that finds the optimal ways in which these communities get created. But of course, residents will log on to the app at different times, right? Maybe somebody else in the same neighborhood will log on a month later, etc. So can you explain a bit how that algorithm would work?
Yes, the idea is that the algorithm is run once. I mean, of course, it can be updated every so often if the residents change significantly. Maybe you want to update it once a year or something like that. But the idea is the recommendations are produced once. We did this based on the historical data about solar irradiation in different areas of Ghent and the energy consumption of people, well, households as we assume them to be around Ghent. Based on this, we trained 3 models and selected the one that worked the best in order to cluster together so that every resident of Ghent would be in one cluster with 1 or more solar panels to optimize the KPIs that we mentioned. And the idea is that this is the kind of fixed recommendation. So whenever a resident goes onto the app and enters their details, they can see what's recommended for them, who they should partner with to form the energy community, and what benefits it can bring them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Who wants to go next?
Yeah, I would like to. That was a very interesting question by Lambert, and I would like to ask if there is a possibility. You set the KPIs and you make the system work. By the way, I really like that you had some attention to different languages and really usability for people really actually living in Ghent. So thanks for that. But I was wondering if you could make it more learning, like about what energy communities were already started. So now you are a little bit static on it's just a step further. I know it's already great, but now you're very static on what's possible. But could there be a way to like celebrate successes or put in information about existing or energy communities that started along the way? So maybe that would be valuable information for users.
Yeah, it's a good point. We did think about this. We didn't have sufficient information about the energy communities that exist. I mean, we didn't have anything as granular as which households already belong to them. So we couldn't include them in the modeling that we've done. But we would completely agree, I think, that it would be an important next step to add to the solution.
Yeah, definitely the solution can be scaled to include these other data points, and yeah, we can definitely do, it can definitely be scaled to include new data points.
So I have a question on how do you identify your community members, and whether that requires and would be a challenge from a personal data perspective, because that's kind of when question that I've had is that, is this going to be a GDPR nightmare to even identify your community members that you could create a community with, right? Because it's pretty granular the way you go. And so have you thought about that? You know, GDPR being the data protection regime in Europe, under which Ghent has to comply with as well.
So one answer to that is you don't particularly get information about your neighbors when you put in, even if you put in your neighbor's address, it doesn't say your neighbor's energy consumption is currently this. You can also somewhat scramble the numbers as well to anonymize it a little bit further. Essentially, that's what we did because, of course, for the same data privacy reasons, we didn't have access to every household's individual energy consumption. So we can somewhat abstract these very fine details away. I'm no expert in GDPR, but I would imagine that you can apply similar protocols to ensure that it's all within the regulations.
Yeah, so during the data collection, maybe we can add masking or redacting the data before we actually pass on to the feature engineering or further modeling.